Hi, good evening. Welcome to tonight's Bible study. We're gathering around the ancient texts in the book of Acts. We're in chapter 25, and I believe that the words in the Bible continue to speak life and wisdom and conviction into our modern world. And though it was written thousands of years ago, I believe that there are timeless truths that can be adapted to this ever-changing world, that we can lead with love and truly live on purpose when we open our minds and hearts and allow the Spirit of God to reveal fresh understanding and help us to apply the practical teachings into today's life and in our culture. We started into chapter 25 last time when Governor Festus, he became a new governor. Governor Felix is out. Governor Festus is in, this Roman governor who is overseeing a Roman territory, which includes Jerusalem. And the Jewish leaders in Jerusalem immediately bring up Paul to this new governor, and they push for Paul to be tried in Jerusalem to get Governor Festus to ship Paul back from Caesarea, where he's been in jail for 2 friggin' years, hoping that if Festus will release him and send him back, that they will ambush the transfer and kill Paul along the way. So Festus refuses, and he tells them to present their accusations in Caesarea. And so the Jewish council, which is top leaders from the Sanhedrin, these are the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they go up, there's a hearing, and the Jews begin making all of these false accusations and charges that they can't even prove. And Paul simply but firmly states, I'm innocent. I've done nothing to the Jews, to the temple, to Caesar. I've done nothing. And trying to please the Jews, Festus asks Paul if he's willing to stand trial then in Jerusalem. And Paul asserts his position as a Roman citizen, and he says, I'm not going to go down there, and I'm going to use my right as a Roman citizen to appeal before Caesar in Rome. And so Festus consults with his advisors, and they agree Paul be sent to Rome. We don't know what the advisors were saying to Festus, but they're probably like, wash your hands of this. I think that would probably be your best route. Get him out of here. And he is a Roman citizen. So if you send him back to Jerusalem, has every right as a Roman citizen to be tried properly. So the overview of last week left us with what's next? I guess Paul's going to Rome, right? Tonight, we're going to find out that after Paul appeals to Caesar, King Agrippa and his sister Bernice visit Festus to welcome Festus as the new governor. And Festus tells Agrippa about Paul's case, explaining, the Jewish leaders accusing him fiercely and Paul maintaining his innocence. And these seem to be only religious disagreements about Jesus and Jesus's teachings. And so Festus admits to King Agrippa, I'm unsure, how I'm supposed to appeal this up to Caesar, because there's nothing here. There's not even really a case. And so we're going to see tonight where King Agrippa becomes curious about what actually is happening to Paul and would like to see Paul himself. So let's dive in. We are reading out of the Message version. We'll be reading Acts 25 through 27. this starts off by saying, a few days later, this is a few days after this trial took place in Caesarea with the Jews and Governor Festus and Paul. A few days later, King Agrippa and his wife, didn't I just tell you his sister, Bernice? Let's pause. The Bible is written, listen to me, by humans. It has been translated by humans. Humans make mistakes. So when you're reading texts, it's important to study it. Trust, verify. And as I'm studying these scriptures a few weeks ago, all of the versions that I read, the King James Version, the New King James Version, the NIV, it says King Agrippa and Bernice. Okay, who's Bernice? Well, the Message version assumes that Bernice is his wife. But if you look at the historical documents during this time, Bernice is not King Agrippa's wife. It is his sister. She was married very young to a guy named Marcus of Alexandria, and he died. So then she married, get this, she married her uncle Herod. I know. Also, he died. So after his death, she returned to her brother, Agrippa II. And during these events that we're talking about here, and even next week, in chapter 25, she's not married. So she later becomes involved with Titus. He's a Roman general, and he later becomes an emperor, okay? But you've got this woman here who is not married, has been living with has been married to, in the past, high political people. So it's easy for the king to bring his sister along because she's looking, right? So the Message version says that Bernice is Agrippa's wife. She is not. She is his sister. Let's read on. A few days later, King Agrippa and his sister visited Caesarea to welcome Governor Festus to his new post. Now, in the Roman world, and even in our world today, when someone takes a new political office, the local rulers were expected to visit, make a phone call, show respect. And Agrippa ruled neighboring territories that were under Roman authority. And so maintaining that strong relationship with the governor was politically important. So this visit helped to ensure cooperation. It helped to ensure influence and also stability between their governments and how things were laid out. They did stay there for a while. Why? Visits were not quick drop-ins. They were very involved. Don't forget, it's not like you're going to get on a plane and go somewhere. So there were formal ceremonies, there were political discussions, there was alliance building that was happening during the time. They were exchanging informations about the region. Strengthening favor with Rome is what King Agrippa is doing. They may have come with gifts. They, of course, came with an entourage. So there are people with them, and they're staying here in Caesarea with the governor. Let's read on. After several days, Festus brought up Paul's case to King Agrippa. I have a man on my hands here, a prisoner left by Felix. And when I was in Jerusalem, the high priests and Jewish leaders brought a bunch of accusations against him and wanted me to sentence him to death. And I told them that that wasn't the way we Romans did things. Just because a man is accused, we don't throw him out to the dogs. We make sure the accused has a chance to face his accusers and defend himself of the charges, and put the man on the stand. The accusers came from all sides, but the accusations turned out to be nothing more than arguments about their religion and a dead man named Jesus, who the prisoner claimed was alive. And since I'm a newcomer here and don't understand everything involved in this case, I asked if he'd be willing to go to Jerusalem and be tried there. But Paul refused, and he demanded a hearing before His Majesty Caesar in our highest court in Rome. So I ordered him returned to custody until I could send him to Caesar. So let's look here at what this looks like. Caesar was viewed as a supreme ruler in Rome, politically and militarily. So he possessed the final authority in legal cases, which is why Paul's appeal to Caesar was binding and it was irreversible. Okay, let's read on. King Agrippa said, "I'd like to see this man and hear his story." "Good," said Festus. "We'll bring him in first thing in the morning and you'll hear it for yourself." The next day, everybody who was anybody in Caesarea found his way to the Great Hall. Now, these are local political leaders. These are the who's who of Caesarea, okay? They're coming into the Great Hall because they want to hear what's going to happen too. And there's also the top military brass that are showing up. Agrippa and his sister Bernice, I'm filling in sister, just to further my point. Study the scriptures, don't just read them. Agrippa and Bernice made a flourishing grand entrance and took their places, and Festus then ordered Paul be brought in. Festus said, "King Agrippa and distinguished guests, take a good look at this man. A bunch of Jews petitioned me first in Jerusalem and later here to do away with him. They have been most vehement in demanding his execution. I looked into it and decided that he had committed no crime. He requested a trial before Caesar, and I agreed to send him to Rome. But what I am going to write to my master Caesar, I do not know. All of these charges made by the Jews were fabrications, and I've uncovered nothing else. That's why I brought him before this company, and especially you, King Agrippa, so we can come up with something in the nature of a charge that will hold water. For it seems to me silly to send a prisoner all the way for a trial and not be able to document what he did wrong." So we see here that when we are more concerned with pleasing people, and that's what Festus is doing. He's trying to please the Jews. Now he's trying to please Caesar. That's going to backfire on him. He's trying to protect reputation, his status with these Jewish leaders, and Festus has now come up upon a circumstance that's not fitting for him. So in our lives today, we risk twisting situations instead of standing for truth. Because sometimes we're more concerned about how we're viewed, how we're received, how we're perceived, rather than doing the right thing. We're more concerned with protecting a reputation than protecting our righteousness. Festus, the new governor, wanted charges to stick. Not because Paul was guilty, but because Festus didn't want to look bad. It's all about optics here. It reminds us today that integrity means refusing to force a narrative that is not true, and choosing truth even when it's inconvenient, even when it's embarrassing, even when it's politically difficult. We run into these situations in our own families, our communities, our schools, our workplace, our churches. We see it played out here with the Jews. Christians, no different. When we care more about protecting our image than honoring the truth, we risk compromising our integrity and missing what is right in front of us. Where in your life are you tempted to shape a situation and create a narrative to make you look better or feel safer, instead of standing honestly in the truth, even if it costs you comfort or approval? I have a colleague in the medical industry that was found guilty of fraud. He had recently stood trial and said he was guilty. He said he had done wrong. He knew he had done wrong. And he got caught. Now he's going to serve time in federal prison. He got caught up in greed. And an audit found the greed with false billing and nothing to back it up. But he was more concerned about protecting his reputation, protecting his wallet, and protecting his wealth, that he became so greedy that it cost him his life. Because now for the next 3 years, he's going to serve time in a federal prison, and he still has financial restitution that he has to do after that in the millions. He'll never be able to pay it. You have got to, at some point, stop the bleeding. It may look good in the moment. It may feel good in the moment. But when you stand in honesty, it may cost you. Comfort may cost you approval, may cost you some life. Being able to live freely. But when you compromise your integrity, it will eventually catch up with you. Next week, Paul is going to stand before King Agrippa and deliver his most personal and most powerful defense and testimony yet. And as I sign off here, and I'm thinking about my friend who's going to prison, I admire him for doing the next right thing. We all get caught up in falsehoods and narratives that do not serve us. We have all made actions, done things, said things that are not true or right. And it takes courage to stop and say, you know what? I did the wrong thing. And when you have false accusations coming up against you, which I have been a victim of recently, within the past couple of years, and somebody creating a narrative that was completely untrue, I stood on my integrity, the truth, and I did not compromise or back down from my own values and my own self-respect. You let the chips fall where they're going to fall, but your accusations are false, and I will stand up against them and continue to stand up against them until I am relieved from the false narrative that's being created about me. This was in the workplace. I used the resources that I had, attorneys, court system, to make sure that it was taken care of justly and that I maintained my truth. Do the same. You can protect your honor by speaking the truth. It will set you free, and you'll truly be free indeed. And if you're caught up in something right now that's not right, get it corrected. Do what you need to do to get it corrected. Pay the restitution. Might not be financial, might be in the form of an apology. But do what you can with the resources that you have to make it right, so that you can live in that freedom. My friend said to me, I feel good because I did the right thing by saying what I did was wrong. And now I can rest and have peace, because now I know what the consequences are, and I'm willing to walk those out, and that God has given me the grace to do that. So whether you're standing in a place like Paul or me, where I had false accusations against me, use the resources that you have to maintain your integrity and your truth. If you are in a position like my friend and colleague, do the next right thing. Make it right and move on from there. The consequences may be great, but ultimately, your spirit is worth it. Until we meet again next time, love God, love others, and love yourself. May love be your religion.